Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, back with even more spoilers from Throne of Eldraine. We're currently sitting at 212 known cards out of 269 after today's video. And the set already looks like a disastrous dumpster fire, but let's add some fuel to it with Kenrith's Transformation. This is a promotional card. It says it's from the promo pack. They've introduced so many new things and changed names so many times I couldn't even tell you what that is. I think it's the F&M prize. Who knows? What I do know is that this is a 2-cost enchantment with the text way too far to the left in the text box. It's an aura, and when it enters battlefield, draw a card. Then an enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. So I guess Oko or Oto, or I still forgot his name and I don't care because he's annoying. He must have turned Kenrith into an elk in the storyline. I wouldn't know because they paywalled the book. So to me, this card means absolutely nothing, and honestly, if you're going to pay 2 to sort of get rid of a creature, you might as well actually get rid of it. There are Force Fight cards that cost 2. This really just isn't a good card. I mean, green doesn't have that much removal, but leaving them a 3/3 is not what I'd call removal, so I don't know. I think somebody will put it in some sideboard somewhere, but that's about it. Next up, Fabled Passage, another multicolor marked rare land. Didn't see that coming. And if you tap it and sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then if you control 4 more lands, untap that land. So this is just a very slightly tweaked Evolving Wilds. I should remind you, this does not tap for anything by itself, but it is played as a land. Now, since this is a direct drop-in replacement for Evolving Wilds, I think quite a few decks are going to need this, which means it's probably going to be pretty expensive. That said, how high could it really get? It's not that great. I think Commander people will go after it, but this might be a little slow for Modern. Hard to say, though. In my opinion, printing this, just a tiny little marginal increase on Evolving Wilds. It's just a cash grab on Wizards' part, and I wish they wouldn't have printed it. So next up, Mantle of Tides. It's a 1-cost blue artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+2, which is insanely powerful for a blue card at all. And then whenever you draw your second card each turn, attach Mantle of the Tides to target creature you control. Otherwise, the equip cost is 3, which is fairly significant. So it's dirt cheap to drop into play, somewhat expensive to equip. What you get out of it isn't very good for the equip cost, but whenever you draw a second card, so just any draw effect at all, boom, free equip. So this is pretty good. Next up, Steel Gaze Griffon. It's a 2/4 for 5 flying, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, Steel Gaze Griffon gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Wonderful. I love that they're encouraging probably control-heavy decks. I mean, a lot of these cards that say draw your second card, they aren't control cards. But would anybody actually do like blue creature rush draw? No, you would probably do that in red, white, or green. So I don't know. I don't like decks that outdraw everybody 2 to 1 because that's really inherently unfair if there's enough control in it. But if they were running that, is there even room for a card this stupid? I don't know. Probably not in the 5-cost slot. Next up, Bloodhaze Wolverine. It's a 2/1 for 2, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, okay, I guess that's extending to red. Wonderful. I'm sure that won't totally turn into an Izzet deck. Bloodhaze Wolverine gets +1/+1 and gains first strike until end of turn. Well, that's annoying. Next up, we've got Mad Ratter. It's a 1/2 for 4 goblin, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens. And next up, we've got Improbable Alliance. It's a 2-cost enchantment, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, I'm already getting sick of saying that, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying, and then if you pay 6, draw a card, then discard a card, which is unbelievably overpriced for that crappy of an ability. So this is just strictly worse than Mad Ratter, but I don't know, it's cheaper and less susceptible to removal. I mean, the draw-heaviest decks right now are actually black-green, so I don't know how this will work. I don't know. I'm having trouble really assessing this mechanic. Next up, we've got another one of the missing Mythics, and this one's a Fairy Rogue with Adventure. So it's a 3/1 for 3 double blue with flash flying, and it can only block creatures with flying. But if you use its Adventure, which is instant speed, it costs 2, and you return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Wow, that's almost good enough to be an uncommon. I mean, 3 damage for 3 mana in the air, and then they felt like they had to water it down with a block restriction. It's probably better than I'm thinking in whatever deck they intended it for, but pretty boring mythic. So next up, we've got Casina de Doces, which clearly means Casino of 12s. But because this is Portuguese we're talking about, apparently that's Gingerbread House. Sure it is. So assuming that the closest words in a language that people actually speak and that actually makes sense is casa and dulce, it actually translates to house of candy. So as I suspected, a 5-letter word does not mean a compound noun gingerbread. Gee, I'm shocked. So in English, it'll either be gingerbread house or house of candy or candy house. It'll be interesting to see which they go with, actually. Because in the story, it actually is made out of gingerbread, but it also has candy on it. And I gotta say, this slots perfectly into the mono green food deck because it's a land forest, so it is a forest. You can tap it to add green, and then it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more forests, and then when it enters the battlefield untapped, create a food token. So that's just nice little helper for that archetype. Next up, we've got Iron Kraig Pyromancer. This is a 0/4 for 3 in red human wizard. You really don't see that very often. I mean, a high toughness wizard, a 0 attack power creature in red, or really anything about this card. This is a bit unique. But whenever you draw your second card each turn, oh boy, this deals 3 damage to any target. So this is probably the best card I've seen in this mechanic so far. In current Izzet Drake's decks, this would be nuts. Hopefully that stupid deck doesn't make a comeback with the release of this set. It better not. I'm so sick of that stupid deck, and I'm so sick of their stupid guild. Next up, Tempting Witch. We've already seen the artwork for this. Pretty creepy. It's a 1/3 for 3 human warlock. And whatever... Wait a minute. Is it a witch or is it a warlock? I mean, it's not a real distinct distinction, but as far as subtypes go, I'm a little confused, because there are creatures with the subtype of witch. Well, for some reason, they felt like making this distinct from that. But anyway, when it enters battlefield, create a food token. And then if you pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice food, target player loses 3 life. Ouch! Now, I don't know if you knew this or not, but in the book, this character is actually named Creepy McApplechucker. That is a true fact that I just made up because I'm sure as hell not going to read it. Next up, we've got another mythic, the Greathenge. Oh, excuse me. There is only one truly Greathenge, and that's Stonehenge. How dare you try to downplay the greatness of the true Greathenge? So anyway, this is a 9-cost legendary artifact. I'm going to take a wild guess that it doesn't actually cost 9. Oh look, the spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Then if you tap, you can add 2 green mana to your pool, and then add or gain 2 life. So this is on top of any potential land drops for the turn, which is pretty darn good. And then whenever a non-token creature, oh my gosh, they finally said the magic words, non-token creature. Holy crap, I'm shocked. Anyway, whenever a non-token creature, not just anything, not just a willy-nilly free-for-all like every other card from this damn set, whenever that enters battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. Yeah, I could see why you wouldn't want that to happen with tokens. But then again, I could say that to about 5 different cards that we spoiled so far. So this is absolutely crazy. You're probably going to get this out for an average of like 5 or 6 mana, and then you get just an enormous mana ramp, you gain life constantly, and then everything comes in and replaces itself immediately. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. Still a far fairer card than the Immortal Sun, or Ethereal Absolution, or pretty much anything else in Standard. Hell, this is a fairer card than Icon of Ancestry, and they made it legendary. Good for them. I'm glad that somebody at Wizards pulled their head out of their collective asses long enough to realize that you really wouldn't want 2 of these in play. That would be a little bit much. You could pretty much just cast your whole deck within a couple turns. So next up, we've got Visione Inspiegabile, maybe. I don't know. Italian is confusing. I can sure cook the food and eat the food, but I can't speak the language. And after both World Wars, I'm surprised anybody still speaks the language. But anyway, this is a 5-cost Straganaria. Is that really their word for sorcery? That's hilarious. And then I'm pretty sure that says draw 3 cards. I don't need to translate that. And then Ediment. Okay, maybe I'm mistaken, but doesn't that actually say fish 3 cards? Anyway, if you manage to spend 3 or more blue mana on this, you can scry 3. Or as they put it, profetiza. Which, that's a sling term that means you profit 3 pizzas, but only if you're playing in Italy. In other countries, it doesn't do that. But in Italy, your opponent has to order your 3 pizzas. That is the actual ruling on this card. Look it up. I think the flavor text says something about, like, they looked at the vision and were perplexed and something about bringing them to their father. Now, somebody just probably put in the DVD for Bambi and it's playing on the, whatever that is. Next up, we've got Paladino de Ventressa, or Ventress Paladin. So this is a human knight creature, 4-cost flying 2/2, and it has adamant with triple blue, of course, and you put a counter on it, a single 1/1 counter. So it's almost not crap if you spent all blue mana on it. Or I guess 75% blue mana. Well, this card sucks. Next up, it's Tenacious Knight. It's a black-red 2/2 with Menace. It's a human knight, and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. I mean, I guess it's more fair than Master of Feasts, but I really don't like cards that give your opponent the exact same advantage that you're getting. It tends to completely and utterly blow up in your face. Well, let's see. If they're playing Control, this is absolute suicide. If they're playing Creature Rush, you're probably benefiting them more than you. I just wouldn't play this card. I don't think that a 3-color Knights deck has enough removal and just absolute shutdown and like board wipe opportunities to make your card more valuable than theirs. I just don't see it. Now, if you're running a discard heavy deck in just these 2 colors, that's a different story. But I still don't think this is a good idea. And with that terrible idea, that is the end of today's spoilers. Can't wait to see the rest, except I can because I don't care because a couple cards in the set are ruining it, as I've said before. Also, a quick reminder, over on Daily MTG, they posted the full deck lists and counts and quantities, which is, I guess, the only thing we didn't know, for the 2 Planeswalker decks that are coming out. I believe we know every card in them, but the exact quantity of each card in them is interesting. So go over to Daily MTG and take a look there. I don't think it's worth a video or covering it. But yeah, that is a thing that was revealed today. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.